We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day. We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Wednesday, January 15th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Today, we're joined by Park Ki-un.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And Im Sang-yeong.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So we're going to begin with our keyword news of the day. Our keyword for this Wednesday is wildfire. The city of Los Angeles has been battling wildfires for over a week now. The fires have led to at least 24 deaths and displacement of tens of thousands of residents. And firefighters are currently tackling several active fires, including the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire. The situation is expected to worsen, with forecasts predicting powerful winds that could exacerbate the fires before conditions improve later in the week. And officials are urging residents to have an evacuation plan and are advising against activities that could spark new fires. So Sang-yeong, for our viewers' information, what could be some activities that could help people to prevent fires from becoming bigger?
Yeah, so first I pay my condolences to those who lost their lives and properties due to the wildfire. And as we have just saw in the screen, the scale of the wildfire was really massive. And I think we've always seen such wildfires in every winter since the humidity gets lower. And South Korea is no exception to this danger. And we always need to stay cautious against this wildfire. Now, to prevent the further spread, the LA Fire Department said that people shouldn't burn woods outside or leave smoldering coals after cooking outside. Also, they mentioned that people should avoid trimming dry grass because the machinery can create sparks leading to fire as well. And don't leave your vehicle over dry grass. The underpart of the vehicle, which is hot, can ignite the grass. And lastly, be careful when you dispose cigarettes, which can also create fire.
Right, and I think that this is more worrisome because the fires are currently active. As mentioned earlier, firefighters are still battling with these blazes. So in light of the widespread impact, many are seeking ways to assist those who have been affected and are being affected. So Ki-un, how can we help?
Well, local communities can step up to help those affected, and we're seeing this right now as neighbors of those who have lost everything in LA fires come out to the streets to provide free food, clothing, a lot of clothing actually, and even water for free. And for those who are overseas like us, who cannot actually physically be there to volunteer and help out, we can always donate money through to the American Red Cross. And I just hope that the fire dies down as soon as possible so that no more people are affected and harmed by the fire.
Definitely. All right, that was our keyword news for this Wednesday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Today is time to focus on the latest lifestyle trends of our generation. Let's start by taking a look at the screen.
One topic that consistently comes up when we talk about the lifestyle trends of our generation is investment. Our generation has been heavily drawn to investing, whether it's stocks, cryptocurrency, or even gold. But now, some young people are taking it a step further, channeling nearly all their assets into investment products.
Right, so investment trends have been a topic that we've dealt several times on Newsgen last year. So we're going to first start by catching up from where we left off last year in 2024 as it's 2025. So have there been any notable changes in your investment portfolios lately? Because for me, no.
Okay, so there has been a lot of changes for me.
Oh, really?
So it has been around 2 years since I last started making investments. And I'm one of those people who started to make stock price investment, jumping onto the bandwagon because my friends around me began to do so. So right now, 60% of my assets go into bank deposits, and the rest, 40%, is for the investment in Bitcoins and stock markets. So far, I've been investing without much knowledge about the market economy, but I really want to, starting from this year, I really want to study more about the financial market. So I just invested in products that were mostly popular among other people, and I kind of got swayed around by the media as well. So starting from this year, I'm trying to learn how to make wise investment.
Well, good luck on your investment
Yeah,
journey
hopefully.
for 2025. So it seems that Sang-hyuk is expanding his investment portfolio. Now to you, Kyun, I remember that we talked about a similar topic last year. It was not so long ago. So have there been any changes to your investment portfolio?
The latest investment that I made was in Korean stocks, but this was early December last year, which wasn't the best time to invest in Korean
Right,
stocks.
a lot of volatility.
A lot of volatility, which, because of the political turmoil that started from December 3rd, right after the declaration of martial law. So I put that aside and looked into the US stock market again, as I always do, especially in quantum computer stocks and beneficiary stocks related to President-elect Donald Trump. So back then, the overall quantum computing sector was looking quite okay, and it was on the rise until NVIDIA boss Jensen Huang mentioned that in one of his speeches in CES 2025, I think that was last week in Las Vegas, he said that practical quantum computing is likely 2 decades away. And as soon as he said that, all the stocks that I was looking into just tumbled like 20-30%. Luckily, I didn't invest in any of those stocks because I didn't have, I guess, spare money to invest. But right now, I'm just really on a very tight budget, cutting back on my expenses and just being as frugal as I can. And I guess, sometimes when you don't have enough money to invest, spending less could be just one way of investing as well.
But you're still in the investment market, right?
I am, unfortunately.
Okay, so both of our panelists are investing in assets now. And as mentioned earlier, some young people are now going all in with their investments, which is quite different. We talked about here on Newsday multiple times that young investors are diving into the market, but not all in the past. So could you explain what this trend looks like and how widespread this is?
So this risky trend of investing has become quite prominent due to the economic downturn and, of course, the political uncertainties that we're experiencing here in Korea. We're seeing a growing number of young people in their 20s and 30s who are selling their homes or drastically minimizing housing costs, opting for monthly rentals called 월세 here in Korea, to invest all of their assets into stocks or cryptocurrencies. So instead of choosing the slower but safer growth of real estate, they're chasing the dream of becoming rich overnight. And this shift seems to have gained momentum, especially after Bitcoin's price surpassed $100,000 US dollar per coin for the first time in history late last year, fueling even greater expectations. And as of the first half of last year, the total market capital of virtual assets here in Korea exceeded 55 trillion won, which is roughly 37 billion US dollars. And according to a survey conducted last November by the platform SME Research Center at Kookmin University, 68% of respondents in their 20s and 30s believe the virtual asset market will continue to grow in the future. So let's take a look at the screen to see the reasons behind the aggressive investing in virtual assets by young people. So according to the survey that I mentioned a few moments ago, 55% of young Koreans said investing in virtual assets is the main method of increasing assets, while 28% thought of the potential for high returns, while some said it was good for its accessibility and, of course, the high entry barriers in real estate and stocks.
And I think that more investors could be drawn into this cryptocurrency market, especially as next week, President-elect Donald Trump will start his second term. And during his campaign period, he mentioned that he will make the United States a crypto capital of the planet. That is what he said. So there are forecasts that Bitcoin prices could hit up to $250,000 this year, which could be another reason why more young investors could be entering this cryptocurrency market. Then, Sang-hyuk, I also want to ask you, are there any other reasons why there is this growing investment interest among our generation, not only in cryptocurrency, but also in stocks?
Well, it all boils down to economic recession. So currently, the increase in our wage fails to catch up with the rise of inflation. And in fact, that's why the MZers are trying to diversify their source to make money on top of their salary. Also, our generation cannot live only with one job throughout a lifetime. There is a great possibility that the current generation might have to switch from 2 to 3 jobs throughout their lives. And because there is a lack of decent jobs in the market, there is a great possibility that the younger generation must compete with the older generation. However, in a competition like this, they are in no match for competition with the older generation when it comes to hiring. So as a result, MZers have no choice but to look for another financial portfolio sources. And as we saw during the pandemic, in times of crisis, assets like real estate and stocks tend to dramatically go up compared to currencies and cash. In a nutshell, financial assets have the biggest volatility, followed by market price, and finally, the income is the last one to go up. And now you need to have a large amount of seed money in order to invest in real estate. So that's why MZers first invest in stocks and Bitcoins. There were also some success stories on social media, and I think these cases entice younger generation to investment.
Right. So despite these assets being unpredictable and having some sort of volatility, young people kind of think that it is a way to secure their assets or kind of expand their assets for the future. All right. So we've heard from our panelists, and we're now going to hear from our viewers. We also asked them for their thoughts on this investment rush among young people. And here's what 3 of them said. Our first comment for this Wednesday is by JellyK126. It's getting harder and harder to find a good job these days, so a lot of people my age are taking chances to try and diversify their income. But it's super important to know how much you can afford to lose if things go south. BennyD97 says, I think people want to build their own ways to earn money, especially by investing in crypto. It's a great opportunity for some, but invest carefully. After Rain 20 says, higher risk doesn't always mean higher returns. We have to remember that. All right, so to better understand this trend, we're now going to connect with an economics expert to our talks after a quick break.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang.News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
We're back. Today we're joined by Yang Jun, Professor of Economics at Catholic University of Korea. Welcome, Professor Yang, to the show.
Happy to be here.
Great to have you. So, Professor Yang, from your perspective, what factors are driving this sudden investment boom among young people?
Okay, well, you talked about this, a lot of these factors earlier. I think usually assets which are very volatile are not thought of as good investment, but I think because we have seen in Korea some asset values going up very quickly. Like housing is the best example. People have gotten rich from owning housing units rather than saving up for a job. And because you mentioned that it's very hard for younger people to get good jobs now, so I think they want some asset whose value will go up very quickly, even if it is dangerous. And if you look at Bitcoins, when they were created around 2010, they were worth 9 cents per coin. That went up to $900 in 2016, $20,000 in 2019. And $96,500 yesterday when I checked. Now, this, even though this has been a very high upward trend, it's been very, very volatile. You could literally, the value of the Bitcoin can fall to half its value in just days. But I think because it is very volatile, and because buying housing units is so expensive, especially for younger people, some surveys say that you need somewhere between 14 to 20 years worth of average wages to buy a good housing unit, which is around Seoul area. So a lot of young people, I think, see these type of volatile investments, especially Bitcoin, as perhaps their only hope in getting ahead and climbing up the income ladder. Now, this phenomena, I think, has strengthened in recent years, last couple of years, because you have introduced some regulations into the Bitcoin exchange. Previously, the exchanges were vulnerable to embezzlement, bad management, but now, because of those problems, they are regulated, which not only makes the market seem safer, but also gives some measure of legitimacy because the government is regulating it. The introduction of exchange traded funds, ETF, made it easier to invest as well as make it, again, more legitimate. And then you mentioned the Trump administration policies. One of the policies that he is mentioning is the U.S. Bitcoin reserves. What that will do is the government will buy Bitcoins as part of U.S. reserves, which is, frankly, I don't think it's a good idea if you think about U.S. Economic stability. But because the government will be buying up Bitcoins, it will drive up prices. So at least in the short run, when the government is buying up those Bitcoins, it will drive up the price. So it looks like at least good opportunity and relatively sure opportunity to make money for the next year or two.
Right, Professor. Some have criticized this kind of trend, comparing it to gambling rather than genuine investing. What's your take on this?
I think it is very close to some type of gambling. Let me explain why. Investment, if you look at investment assets, take a look at, say, commodities like copper or oil, they usually have real demand and supply behind it. What I mean by real demand is that there's economic use for that product. So you need oil to drive, you need oil to make petrochemical products. So there's a real demand, that fundamental that lies behind that investment asset. On top of that, so you have fundamentals, but you also have speculative factors, which often makes the oil prices very volatile. If you think of, say, stocks, what acts as fundamentals are the profitability, present and future profitability of that company. So that acts as a fundamental, that acts as an anchor to prices. So even if you have speculation, it won't go too far away from that fundamental. Then you have the currency market. A lot of people point out that currencies are made by law. Dollars or Korean won. So in those cases, you do not necessarily have fundamentals, but what you do have are central banks, which try to keep the value of money, so that acts as an anchor. The thing about cryptocurrencies is that there's no anchor, there's no fundamentals. There's only speculation. So it really depends a lot on people's psychology. If people think the prices are going to go up, it's going to go up, and it's going to go up a lot. If people think that it's not going to go up, then the prices will drop, and prices will drop fast and big. And so in some sense, it is a very dangerous investment. Unlike gambling, perhaps, you don't know the odds, but in some ways, maybe it's like poker. It depends on the psychology of demand and supply. It doesn't have a real use, so it all depends on how people think the prices are going to move in the near future. And that means that you have to be able to read your competitor's mind. And I think the crypto coin investors are thinking, well, I can read people's minds better than average. But a lot of times, it doesn't turn out that way, I'm afraid. There's a lot of people who lose in poker because they cannot read other players' minds.
Okay, thanks, Professor, for making that interesting point. What advice would you give to young investors for them to navigate the investment market successfully? Because in the long run, investment is all about making stable source of income.
Right. What I tell my students is there's fundamentally two goals in investment, high returns and low risk. Problem is they're not compatible. So Bitcoin is an extreme example. Cryptocurrency is an extreme example where you can have high returns but extreme volatility. And if you need a steady income, that's not really a good thing to have. So if you are going to make these type of very volatile investment, then you better be able to lose the money and don't depend on other people to make up for it. You're out there risking your, it's a very risky endeavor, and you should be prepared to take the risk.
All right, Professor Yang, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as Professor Yang mentioned, low risk and high return, they're incompatible. So I want to ask you, as investors, what do you think about this balance between opportunity and danger?
Well, just by looking at Squid Game 2, the role that Im Siwan played when he actually enters the game, he asked for his phone back. The reason is because he needs to check the prices of his bitcoins.
Right.
That he's lost a lot of money. And so if you see that kind of just from that drama, it can be very addictive because it's 24/7, especially I'm talking about cryptocurrency. You can check it 24/7 and it's highly volatile. So once you get stuck to it, you just got to constantly look at it, and it really reaches the point where it affects your lifestyle as well. So I think you need to be able to really manage the risk and be careful of not falling too deep into it and becoming addicted to kind of, investing, where it turns to a point where it starts becoming like a gamble.
Obsession,
Yeah,
right,
obsession,
like gambling. What do you think, Sang-yeon?
Well, like you mentioned, there are some cases when young investors fail in stock markets or bitcoins and eventually go bankrupt, and in worst cases, they commit suicide. And statistics say that average people have less than 5% chances to hit a jackpot with stock market. When stock prices fall down, people purchase more stocks as the average purchase price gets lower and expect a rebound in price. But overall, the loss could grow bigger in the long term. So risking your financial asset to hit a jackpot is not a clever idea. It's more like betting in a gamble, like the professor mentioned in the interview. So we must all stay cautious against excessive investment.
Right, always being cautious. And ending off today's discussion, very briefly, what are your thoughts on this investment trend?
I think moving away from short-term, like high return mindset, changing into kind of mid to long-term investment plan will help you just live your day on a daily basis, stress-free, because like I said, once you reach a point where, if you reach a point where you keep looking at your phone, it becomes very addictive, turns into gambling, it's going to affect your mental health. And eventually, if you don't end up making a profit, you'll be in a lot of debt, and it's going to affect all areas of your life.
Right. Do you also agree, Sang-yeon?
Yeah, I definitely agree. So you should definitely refrain yourself from making investment recklessly just because just because others are doing it, like I did a few years ago. So before making investment, you should thoroughly study about the financial market and start making investment when you have a decent amount of seed money with appropriate amount.
All right. Hope our discussion today helps you make healthy investments in the future. And that's all from NewsGen today, but we'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Park Ki-yoon.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And Im Sang-yeon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.